Your soulmate is trying to reach you right now. Before they lose hope forever. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because something has been happening behind the scenes for a very long time. Something nobody else can see. Something nobody else fully understands. A quiet struggle. A silent conversation taking place inside your soulmate's heart. And listen to this. For a long time, they convinced themselves there was no rush. No urgency. No reason to act immediately. Life was busy. The days were full. Responsibilities demanded attention. The future seemed distant. There would always be another opportunity. Another chance. Another moment. At least, that's what they believed. Because your heart needs this right now, because many people assume tomorrow will always provide the opportunity they missed today. Your soulmate believed that too. And listen to this. At first, the feeling seemed small. Easy to ignore. Easy to postpone. Every time they thought about reaching out, they found a reason to wait. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe next week. Maybe when things are clearer. Maybe when the timing feels perfect. Yet the perfect moment never arrived. Days continued moving forward. Weeks disappeared. Months passed. And still, the feeling remained. Waiting. Growing. Quietly becoming impossible to ignore. Because your heart needs this right now, because important truths rarely disappear simply because we postpone them. Your soulmate was learning that lesson. And listen to this. Recently, something changed. Not dramatically. Not suddenly. Gradually. Like the first light before sunrise. Like a distant sound becoming clearer. Like a puzzle slowly revealing its image. Your soulmate began noticing how often the same thoughts returned. The same questions. The same reflections. The same memories. Again and again. No matter how busy life became. No matter how many distractions appeared. The thoughts always returned. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful emotions often persist until they are acknowledged. Your soulmate could no longer ignore them. And listen to this. One evening, while everything around them seemed ordinary, they found themselves reflecting. Not on the future. Not on plans. Not on responsibilities. On moments. Simple moments. Conversations. Experiences. Memories that once seemed insignificant. Yet now those moments felt different. Important. Valuable. Meaningful. Almost as if they had been trying to teach a lesson all along. Because your heart needs this right now, because sometimes understanding arrives long after the moment itself has passed. Your soulmate was finally beginning to understand. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more they realized something surprising. The things that mattered most were never the dramatic moments. Never the perfect circumstances. Never the flawless plans. The things that mattered most were the connections. The conversations. The people. The memories that quietly remained long after everything else faded. Because your heart needs this right now, because genuine connections often leave the deepest impressions. Your soulmate felt those impressions clearly. And listen to this. For the first time in a long while, they stopped running from the feeling. Stopped postponing it. Stopped convincing themselves they had unlimited time. Instead, they asked themselves a question. A question that immediately changed everything. The question was, what if waiting forever means never saying what truly matters? The moment that thought appeared, something shifted. Because suddenly the future felt different. Not frightening. Just uncertain. And uncertainty has a way of revealing what is genuinely important. Because your heart needs this right now, because uncertainty often helps us recognize what we truly value. Your soulmate was recognizing it. And listen to this. The realization became stronger every day. Every reflection seemed to point toward the same conclusion. Every memory seemed connected to the same lesson. Every thought seemed to return to the same truth. Some things deserve honesty. Some things deserve courage. Some things deserve action. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful opportunities often require bravery. Your soulmate was beginning to feel brave. And listen to this. At first, they doubted themselves. Questioned themselves. Wondered whether the feeling was real. Wondered whether it mattered. Wondered whether it was worth acting upon. Yet no matter how many times they questioned it, the feeling remained. Steady. Patient. Persistent. Like a quiet voice refusing to disappear. Because your heart needs this right now, because authentic feelings rarely need force to survive. They simply remain. Your soulmate noticed that. And listen to this. As the days continued, another realization appeared. A realization they never expected. They realized they weren't afraid of reaching out. They were afraid of never reaching out. Afraid of wondering what might have happened. Afraid of carrying unanswered questions forever. Afraid of allowing silence to speak where honesty should have spoken. Because your heart needs this right now, because regret often grows in places where courage never arrived. Your soulmate didn't want regret. And listen to this. The more they thought about it, the more they understood something important. Hope is a fragile thing. Not weak. Not fragile because it lacks strength. Fragile because it requires attention. Belief. Action. Without those things, even the strongest hope can begin fading. And suddenly they understood why urgency felt so real. Because hope deserves effort. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful things rarely survive without intention. Your soulmate finally understood that. And listen to this. One night, while reflecting quietly, they reached a conclusion. A simple conclusion. Yet one powerful enough to change everything. The conclusion was: if something truly matters, I should stop waiting for the perfect moment. I should create the moment. The realization felt liberating. Because suddenly they weren't waiting anymore. They weren't postponing anymore. They weren't hiding behind uncertainty anymore. They were becoming honest. Because your heart needs this right now, because honesty often begins where fear ends. Your soulmate was becoming honest. And listen to this. The message they are trying to send isn't about perfection. It isn't about certainty. It isn't about having all the answers. It's about acknowledging what matters. Acknowledging what remains important. Acknowledging what deserves attention before time quietly moves forward again. Because your heart needs this right now, because some opportunities are too meaningful to leave unspoken. Your soulmate knows that now. And listen to this. Tonight, more than ever before, they feel the truth clearly. The truth that has been waiting patiently beneath every thought. Every memory. Every reflection. The truth is simple. Some feelings deserve expression. Some conversations deserve courage. And some connections deserve one more attempt before hope begins to fade. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after weeks of reflection, unanswered questions, and countless moments of hesitation, your soulmate has reached a point where silence no longer feels comfortable. Not because something dramatic happened. Not because someone forced them to speak. Because a realization has grown too powerful to ignore. And listen to this. For a long time, they believed time would solve everything. They believed that if they waited long enough, their thoughts would become clearer. Their feelings would become simpler. Their questions would disappear. Yet the opposite happened. The longer they waited, the stronger the truth became. Because your heart needs this right now, because some feelings don't fade with time, they become easier to understand. Your soulmate is finally understanding them. And listen to this. Every day seemed normal on the surface. Responsibilities continued. Life moved forward. Conversations came and went. Yet beneath everything, the same thought remained. Quiet. Patient. Persistent. A thought that refused to disappear. No matter how busy they became. No matter how many distractions appeared. The thought always returned. Because your heart needs this right now, because important truths often return until they are acknowledged. Your soulmate can no longer ignore it. And listen to this. Recently, they began noticing something unusual. The moments that stayed in their memory weren't the dramatic ones. They weren't the perfect days. They weren't the major events. Instead, it was the small moments that remained. Simple conversations. Simple memories. Simple connections. The kinds of moments most people overlook. Yet those moments continued living in their heart. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful connections are often built through ordinary moments. Your soulmate finally realizes how valuable those moments were. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more one question continued appearing. Again. And again. And again. The question was, why does this still matter so much? At first, they couldn't answer. They tried convincing themselves it wasn't important. They tried moving on. They tried focusing on other things. Yet every attempt led back to the same place. Back to the same realization. Back to the same truth. Because your heart needs this right now, because genuine feelings don't disappear simply because we decide they should. Your soulmate was learning that lesson. And listen to this. One evening, while sitting alone with their thoughts, something finally became clear. The reason they couldn't let go wasn't because they were trapped in the past. It wasn't because they were afraid of the future. It was because something meaningful remained unfinished. A conversation. An explanation. A truth. Something that deserved expression. Because your heart needs this right now, because unfinished truths often stay with us until they're spoken. Your soulmate feels that truth deeply. And listen to this. As understanding grew, another realization appeared. A realization that surprised them. For so long they believed courage meant never feeling uncertain. Never feeling vulnerable. Never feeling afraid. Yet now they understand something different. Real courage often appears while uncertainty still exists. Real courage appears when honesty becomes more important than fear. Because your heart needs this right now, because bravery is not the absence of fear, it is movement despite fear. Your soulmate is becoming brave. And listen to this. The silence that once felt safe now feels heavy. Not painful. Just incomplete. Like a story missing its final chapter. Like a question waiting for an answer. Like a message waiting to be delivered. Because your heart needs this right now, because some things deserve completion. Your soulmate wants completion. And listen to this. Every reflection seems to point toward the same lesson. Life moves quickly. Opportunities don't wait forever. Moments come and go. Yet honesty always remains valuable. Honesty always matters. Honesty always creates clarity. Because your heart needs this right now, because clarity is often hidden behind conversations we hesitate to have. Your soulmate is searching for that clarity. And listen to this. The biggest realization of all arrived unexpectedly. A realization powerful enough to change everything. The realization was: waiting has never brought me peace. Understanding brings peace. Honesty brings peace. Courage brings peace. The moment those words settled into their heart, everything felt different. Lighter. Clearer. More meaningful. Because your heart needs this right now, because truth has a way of creating freedom. Your soulmate is beginning to feel that freedom. And listen to this. Now they understand why the urge to reach out feels so strong. It isn't about desperation. It isn't about fear. It isn't about chasing something impossible. It's about refusing to leave important things unsaid. It's about choosing honesty over silence. It's about choosing courage over hesitation. Because your heart needs this right now, because some conversations become more important with time, not less. Your soulmate believes this is one of those conversations. And listen to this. Tonight, More than ever before, they know one thing for certain. The truth deserves a voice. The silence deserves an ending. And the message deserves to be heard. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after all the waiting, after all the hesitation, after every unanswered question and every silent moment of reflection, your soulmate finally reached a point where they could no longer pretend the feeling would simply disappear. Something inside them had changed. Something important. Something impossible to ignore. And listen to this. For a long time, they convinced themselves that patience was the answer. That eventually everything would become clear. That time would somehow make the decision easier. That waiting would remove uncertainty. Yet as the days passed, they noticed something surprising. The uncertainty wasn't disappearing. The truth was becoming stronger. Because your heart needs this right now, because real feelings often become clearer with time, not weaker. Your soulmate was beginning to understand that. And listen to this. Every attempt to move on from the thought led back to the same place. The same realization. The same feeling. The same question. Why does this still matter? Why does this connection still feel important? Why do these thoughts keep returning? Again. And again. And again. Because your heart needs this right now, because some questions remain with us until we are brave enough to answer them honestly. Your soulmate was finally becoming honest. And listen to this. One evening, after a long day filled with distractions and responsibilities, they found themselves alone with their thoughts once more. The silence felt different. Not uncomfortable. Not lonely. Meaningful. As though it was inviting them to stop running from the truth. And for the first time, they listened. Really listened. Because your heart needs this right now, because clarity often arrives when we stop resisting what we already know. Your soulmate stopped resisting. And listen to this. As they reflected, memory after memory appeared. Conversations. Moments. Lessons. Experiences. None of them seemed extraordinary on their own. Yet together they created a picture. A picture that revealed something important. Something undeniable. The connection still mattered. The unanswered questions still mattered. The things left unsaid still mattered. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaning doesn't disappear simply because time passes. Your soulmate finally accepted that. And listen to this. For months, they had been asking themselves the wrong question. They kept asking, what if reaching out changes nothing? Yet suddenly a new question appeared. A better question. A more honest question. The question was, what if never reaching out changes everything? The moment that thought appeared, something shifted. Because suddenly the fear of silence felt greater than the fear of honesty. The fear of regret felt greater than the fear of uncertainty. The fear of never knowing became stronger than the fear of trying. Because your heart needs this right now, because courage often begins when regret becomes more frightening than failure. Your soulmate had discovered courage. And listen to this. The realization wasn't dramatic. It wasn't emotional. It was peaceful. Clear. Certain. Like finally understanding a lesson that life had been teaching all along. They realized that hope wasn't disappearing because circumstances were difficult. Hope was fading because action kept being delayed. Because your heart needs this right now, because hope grows when we give it something to build upon. Your soulmate understood that now. And listen to this. As the night continued, another truth emerged. A truth they had avoided for a very long time. The truth was, I have been waiting for certainty that may never arrive. The realization felt freeing. Because suddenly they understood something important. Life rarely offers guarantees. Relationships rarely offer guarantees. The future rarely offers guarantees. Yet meaningful things are still worth pursuing. Because your heart needs this right now, because courage is not built on guarantees. It is built on belief. Your soulmate was learning to believe. And listen to this. For the first time in a very long while, they stopped focusing on obstacles. Stopped focusing on fears. Stopped focusing on everything that could go wrong. Instead, they focused on something else. Possibility. Opportunity. Honesty. Hope. And those things felt stronger than fear. Because your heart needs this right now, because possibility often becomes visible the moment fear loosens its grip. Your soulmate was beginning to see possibility. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more obvious the lesson became. Life is too short for endless hesitation. Too short for permanent silence. Too short to leave meaningful things unexplored forever. Some conversations deserve courage. Some truths deserve expression. Some opportunities deserve effort. Because your heart needs this right now, because the things that matter most are rarely the things we regret trying. They're often the things we regret never trying. Your soulmate finally understood that. And listen to this. As the night came to an end, they reached a decision. A real decision. Not a temporary feeling. Not another promise to themselves. A genuine commitment. The commitment to stop hiding behind uncertainty. The commitment to stop waiting for perfect timing. The commitment to honor what matters. Because your heart needs this right now, because growth often begins with a decision. Your soulmate had made theirs. And listen to this. One final realization settled deeply into their heart. A realization that brought every lesson together. A realization that explained why hope still remained despite everything. The realization was: hope survives when we choose courage. Hope survives when we choose honesty. Hope survives when we stop running from what matters. The moment those words settled into place, everything felt different. Lighter. Clearer. More meaningful. And for the first time in a very long while, they smiled. Because they finally understood what they needed to do. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after all the waiting, After all the hesitation. After every silent conversation that took place inside their heart. Your soulmate has finally arrived at a moment they can no longer avoid. A moment of truth. A moment of clarity. A moment where everything suddenly feels too important to leave unsaid. And listen to this. For a very long time, they believed there would always be another chance. Another opportunity. Another perfect moment. Another day when the words would come easily. Yet life continued moving forward. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. And every time they postponed what mattered, the feeling returned. Not weaker. Stronger. Because your heart needs this right now, because important truths rarely disappear when they are ignored. They wait. Patiently. Until we are finally ready to hear them. Your soulmate was finally ready. And listen to this. The journey that brought them here was not dramatic. There was no single event. No shocking revelation. No extraordinary coincidence. Instead, there were hundreds of small moments. Small realizations. Small memories. Small reflections. Each one quietly pointing toward the same conclusion. Each one whispering the same lesson. Each one encouraging the same choice. Because your heart needs this right now, because life's biggest lessons are often built from many small moments rather than one large event. Your soulmate could finally see the pattern. And listen to this. As they reflected on everything they had learned, they realized something surprising. The thing they feared most was never rejection. The thing they feared most was regret. Regret for never trying. Regret for never speaking. Regret for never giving honesty a chance. Because your heart needs this right now, because unanswered questions often remain with us longer than difficult answers. Your soulmate understood that now. And listen to this. For years, they searched for certainty. They wanted guarantees. They wanted proof. They wanted complete confidence before taking action. Yet life kept teaching the same lesson. The lesson that courage usually comes first. The certainty comes later. Because your heart needs this right now, because bravery is often required before clarity arrives. Your soulmate finally accepted that truth. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more another realization appeared. A realization that changed everything. They realized that hope is not something that survives on wishes alone. Hope survives on effort. Hope survives on honesty. Hope survives on action. Without those things, even the strongest hope can slowly fade. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful things require participation. Your soulmate finally understood that responsibility. And listen to this. One evening, while sitting quietly and reflecting on everything, they asked themselves a simple question. A question that immediately changed their perspective. The question was, if I knew I would never get another opportunity, what would I wish I had done? The answer appeared instantly. Without hesitation. Without uncertainty. Without doubt. The answer was, I would wish I had spoken honestly. Because your heart needs this right now, because honesty often reveals what truly matters. Your soulmate had discovered what mattered. And listen to this. The realization brought an unexpected sense of peace. Not because every fear disappeared. Not because every question was answered. Because the decision had finally been made. The decision to stop hiding behind hesitation. The decision to stop waiting for perfect timing. The decision to stop allowing fear to make choices on their behalf. Because your heart needs this right now, because growth often begins the moment we reclaim our choices. Your soulmate had reclaimed theirs. And listen to this. For the first time in a very long while, they felt lighter. Not because circumstances had changed. Because perspective had changed. They no longer viewed uncertainty as an obstacle. They viewed it as part of the journey. They no longer viewed vulnerability as weakness. They viewed it as courage. They no longer viewed honesty as something risky. They viewed it as something necessary. Because your heart needs this right now, because perspective has the power to transform everything. Your soulmate's perspective had transformed. And listen to this. As they looked back on their journey, they realized how much growth had already taken place. The person they were before would have continued waiting. Continued postponing. Continued searching for certainty. Yet the person they are now understands something deeper. Life is not about controlling every outcome. Life is about showing up honestly despite uncertainty. Because your heart needs this right now, because authenticity often creates the greatest freedom. Your soulmate was finally feeling free. And listen to this. Then came the final realization. The realization that connected every lesson. Every reflection. Every memory. Every unanswered question. The realization was: hope does not disappear because the road becomes difficult. Hope disappears when we stop believing the journey is worth taking. And suddenly everything became clear. They still believed. They still cared. They still valued what mattered. And that belief was enough to keep moving forward. Because your heart needs this right now, because belief is often stronger than fear. Your soulmate had rediscovered belief. And listen to this. Before ending the night, one final thought settled deeply into their heart. A thought they knew they would remember for years. The thought was: no matter what happens next, I do not want my story to be written by hesitation. I want it to be written by honesty. By courage. By truth. The moment those words settled into place, they felt something remarkable. Peace. Not because the future became certain. Because they finally trusted themselves enough to face the future honestly. And listen to this. That is the message they have been trying to reach you with. Not a dramatic secret. Not a shocking confession. But a realization. A realization that some things are too important to leave unspoken. Too important to leave unfinished. Too important to leave waiting forever.